Picture this. You're standing in court, and your defense for not paying rent is that your landlord told you to grow marijuana in her backyard. And oh, by the way, you only did it because you were tired of paying for weed. Yeah, that actually happened. This is the story of Nathaniel Wooten and Linda Bartolomeo, a case so bizarre, so entertaining, and so absolutely ridiculous that you won't believe it's real. But trust me, every word of what you're about to hear actually went down in a real courtroom, so buckle up, because this ride gets wild. Let me set the scene for you. Linda Bartolomeo owned a rental property, nothing fancy, just a regular house she was renting out. Her original tenant was a woman, Nathaniel's girlfriend at the time. Standard stuff. Girl signs lease, pays rent, everyone's happy. But then Nathaniel moved in with his girlfriend. Still fine. Couples move in together all the time, right? Here's where things get interesting. The girlfriend eventually moved out, just packed up and left. But Nathaniel, oh no, Nathaniel stayed. He liked the place. He wasn't going anywhere now. Here's the kicker: Nathaniel was never actually on the original lease. He wasn't a signatory. He was basically just the boyfriend who crashed at his girl's place and then decided to make it permanent after she bounced. Linda could have kicked him out right then and there, but instead, she did something surprisingly reasonable. She drew up a new lease agreement for Nathaniel, made it all official, put everything in writing. The terms, simple enough. Nathaniel would pay $225 every 2 weeks on the 8th and 22nd of every month. Not a bad deal. Honestly, they signed the lease through email, used some online service called Rocket Lawyer. Everything looked legitimate on paper. But as we all know, what looks good on paper doesn't always play out so smoothly in real life. Now, Linda wasn't just sitting around collecting rent checks. She had plans for this property, big plans. She wanted to sell the house, so she drew up an amendment to the lease, basically an add-on document that made some changes to their original agreement. And this is where things start to get really interesting. The amendment stated a few key things. First, as of July 2nd, neither party was in default. Everyone was square. No problems. Second, Nathaniel had to keep the house in acceptable condition for potential buyers. Makes sense, right? If you're selling a house, you want it to look good for showings. Third, and this is important, Nathaniel agreed to complete some inside trim work and finish painting by August 1st, basically some minor fix-up work to make the place more marketable. And the amendment also listed all the appliances Linda was providing: stove, refrigerator, dishwasher, microwave, washer, dryer, toaster oven, and even a cappuccino maker. Fancy. Linda sent this amendment to Nathaniel via email. And here's where Nathaniel makes his first massive mistake. He didn't read it well. That's not entirely true. He claims he read a text from Linda saying the only thing she changed was the payment schedule from weekly to bi-weekly. So he figured, okay, cool, I'll just sign it and send it back. He didn't actually read the full document, just signed it and fired it off. And that, my friends, is how you end up in court arguing about things you agreed to but never actually knew you agreed to, so everything's rolling along. Lease is signed, amendment is signed, Nathaniel's living in the house, Linda's getting ready to sell, and then suddenly, the rent stops coming. Just stops. Cold turkey. From July through early October, Nathaniel didn't pay rent for 6 full weeks. 6 weeks, that's a month and a half of living somewhere completely free while your landlord is scratching her head wondering where her money is. Now you might be thinking, okay, maybe he lost his job, maybe he hit hard times, maybe something genuinely bad happened. Nope. Nathaniel had a job the entire time. He was working 6 days a week as a cook at a 5-star restaurant. The money was coming in. He just wasn't paying his rent, so why not? Well, according to Nathaniel, Linda violated the lease. She was showing the house to potential buyers and sending people through without his approval. In his mind, that gave him the right to stop paying. And get this, he claims he put the money in an escrow account, just set it aside, waiting for Linda to take him to court. When she didn't, he figured he was in the clear. Except that's not how rent works at all. If you're living somewhere, you pay rent, period, end of story. You don't get to decide unilaterally to stop paying, just because you're upset about something. But Nathaniel had convinced himself he was in the right, and that stubbornness, it was about to cost him. Here's where the conflict really heats up. In August, Nathaniel paid his rent. Finally, after weeks of not paying, he coughs up the money. And on that same day, literally the same day, the realtor hands him a 14-day eviction notice. Now, put yourself in Nathaniel's shoes for a second. You just paid rent, and immediately someone's handing you a notice saying you have 2 weeks to get out. You'd be confused too, right? Nathaniel was furious. The notice wasn't even signed. It didn't give a reason for the eviction. It was just a printed out form handed to him by the realtor, not even by Linda herself. According to Nathaniel, his lease entitled him to a 30-day notice, not 14 days. He felt blindsided, disrespected, manipulated. So what did he do? He stopped paying rent again. In his mind, this was justified retaliation. Linda was violating the lease by trying to boot him out with insufficient notice, so he was withholding rent until things got sorted out. The problem? This strategy was doomed from the start. Because here's the thing about tenant rights. Yes, you have them. But there are proper channels to go through. You don't just stop paying rent and hope for the best. You document everything. You file complaints. You follow the legal process. Nathaniel didn't do any of that. He just stopped paying and crossed his fingers. Bad move. Now we arrive at the part of the story that makes this case truly legendary. During the court proceedings, it came out that Nathaniel had been growing marijuana on the property. Yes, you read that right. Marijuana, weed, cannabis, Mary Jane, whatever you want to call it. When the judge asked him about it, Nathaniel's response was absolutely priceless. He claimed Linda told him he could grow it. Not just that she gave him permission, but that she actively showed him where to grow it. According to Nathaniel, Linda came up to him one day and said, "Hey, I think you should grow marijuana. Here's where you should do it." The judge, understandably, was skeptical. "You mean one day your landlord just came up to you and said, 'I think you should grow marijuana in the house'?" The judge asked. "Correct," Nathaniel replied. "And she showed you where to grow it." "Correct." The courtroom was probably dead silent at this point, because this was either the truth, which would be absolutely insane, or a lie so bold that you had to respect the audacity. But then Nathaniel, that added another layer to his story. He said that when the previous tenants, his ex-girlfriend and her roommates, moved out, they left behind grow lights, grow plants, power strips, buckets, all the equipment for growing marijuana. And according to Nathaniel, Linda just left it all there. He wasn't growing the weed inside the house, he claimed. It was outside, in the backyard, and he thought it was totally fine because Linda had basically given him a green light. But here's where his story completely falls apart. The judge asked him directly, "Why did you grow marijuana?" And Nathaniel, in a moment of stunning honesty, said, "Because I was tired of paying for weed." The courtroom burst into laughter, not because Linda told him to, not because he thought it was medicinal, not because he was conducting some kind of agricultural experiment. He grew it because he didn't want to spend money on it anymore. But wait, it gets even better. Nathaniel then claimed that he and Linda had smoked marijuana together when he was signing the original lease. He even said he had text messages from Linda telling him to hide the drug paraphernalia. So now we're supposed to believe that Linda is not only a landlord who encourages tenants to grow weed, but also someone who smokes with them and then helps them cover it up. Either this is the wildest landlord-tenant relationship in history, or someone's lying through their teeth. Let's move on to the property damage claims. Linda said Nathaniel destroyed 3 doors in the house. She brought pictures to court showing scratches at the bottom of the doors, clearly made by a dog's claws. But here's Nathaniel's defense. Those scratches were already there. According to him, Linda had 4 dogs when he first moved in. The house was a mess. He claims he actually ripped up all the old carpet himself because it was so damaged from the previous dogs. And honestly, that part might actually be true. Linda confirmed she got all the appliances back that were listed in the amendment: the stove, fridge, microwave, all of it. So Nathaniel didn't steal anything or trash the major items. The door scratches, while real, were probably from dogs, and whether those were Nathaniel's dogs or Linda's previous dogs is basically impossible to prove at this point. Linda also claimed Nathaniel took a bed and 2 TVs that belonged to previous tenants. But here's the problem with that claim. The previous tenant was Nathaniel's ex-girlfriend, so good luck proving ownership there. Were they her TVs, his TVs, joint purchases from when they were together? Who knows? The judge basically said, forget it, and moved on. Because trying to sort out who owned what between ex-lovers is a rabbit hole nobody wants to go down.